Welcome to the Legal Leaders Podcast with Ali Rock. Ashley Pantuliano is the Deputy General Counsel of OpenAI. Ashley has worked at some of Silicon Valley's best startups, including Dropbox and then Loom, where she was promoted internally multiple times. Ashley started her legal career at Goodwin Procter, where she focused on transactional work. She's super humble and was awesome to speak with. I hope you enjoy the discussion about her career path. All right. Hey, Ashley, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
You have a really impressive career path with experience both at big law firms like Goodwin Procter and working on tech transactions, and then also working in-house at some of the best startups in the Valley. So super excited to dive into your career today, but I'd love to just kick things off with an icebreaker. So I want to ask you, if you were not a lawyer and could be anything else in the world, what would that be and why?
I really like being a lawyer. But if I couldn't be a lawyer, I wanted to go to culinary school at one point because I really
Okay.
like cooking. So maybe that would have been my alternative career path.
It's not too late.
It's not too late. Yeah. I don't know. Long hours, very difficult work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Being a lawyer
Awesome.
seems easier in many ways.
Awesome. Awesome. Cool. Well, I'd love to start from the very beginning and just kind of talk about how you got to the current position you're at working at OpenAI. So I'd love to take it back to when you're at Stanford studying human biology. So I'm curious what you were interested in doing after undergrad and how you ended up going into law school.
So, so I picked my major based on what I was interested in, and so human biology just seemed really interesting. I was really interested in bio, and so that's I was like, I'm gonna just study what I want to learn and not think about like maybe this is not a good strategy. Not think about like what I want to do after college. And I did think maybe I wanted to go to law school. In at Stanford, there was some like legal undergrad classes, and then you could actually take some of the like overlapping classes with the law school. And so I took a couple of those, and I thought, okay, this is like really great, and I love learning about it. So maybe I should go to law school. But then I thought, okay, well, maybe I should work in the like in legal before I go to law school. So I worked for 2 years as a paralegal at a biotech company called BioMarin. And I thought I was going to go into like biotech and law and like go to law school and become, I don't know, like a life sciences lawyer, some form of that. But then when I went to the firm and I got there after law school, tech was like really blowing up and the tech group needed a lot of help. So I did do some life sciences work, but very quickly got looped in on a bunch of tech stuff and then been in tech ever since.
Amazing. So you did 2 years. You were trying to figure out if this was for you, and you took 2 years between Stanford and UCSF. So can you talk about what was your LSAT journey like?
So I already had my LSAT score. I took the LSAT my senior year, I think, of undergrad or something around there. I didn't take it while I was working, which I don't know. Yeah, Corey, that was a good idea or not. I'm not sure. But yeah, I already had the score, so I just like kept it and then applied later.
Was it challenging for you?
The
The
LSAT?
L. Yeah.
Yeah, standardized tests are not like my strength. I don't know. I felt like I've never felt like really good at them.
Hmm.
Um, and so yeah, I thought it was kind of hard. I think
Yeah,
that.
I thought it was really hard too. And then you went to UCSF, so you kind of stayed in the Bay Area. And how was that journey at UCSF in law school?
I thought it was good. I thought it was interesting. Every class was like something new. Uh, it was called Hastings at the time, but there is a big public interest focus there, and then also they have a really good moot court team. So like lots of like trial law, like litigation type classes. And so for me, I wasn't like I didn't really get it. I tried to get exposure to like the other side of things too, because I had worked for an in-house um, legal team before law school, so I knew there was like other aspects of law that are not just like litigation. Um, so I tried to focus on like trying to find those classes too to try to get more exposure to just like the different areas of law. So I took like a negotiation class. I was still interested in bio, so I took like bioethics classes, like legal bioethics classes, and then some IP and corporate. I'm sure now it's different. I'm sure there's like lots of tech classes now, so maybe, yeah.
Yeah. And at what point do you think you knew you wanted to do transactional work versus maybe litigation?
I didn't think I was like wanted to do litigation because of like the public speaking element. It's like not my first choice to do that all the time, and everyone has to do moot court at like take a moot court class. I think that's probably common at like every law school. And I was like, oh, this is not. And I took a trial class to like just get an understanding of like what that might be like. And I was like, this is stressful, and I don't want to do this all the time. So I was like, maybe it's not for me. But when I was interviewing for my second year, like internship at a firm, uh, it was 2000, let's see, 2008, 2009. So there was not a lot of corporate work because of the like downturn in the economy. So I ended up joining as a like in the litigation group afterwards
Interesting.
because there just wasn't as much corporate. So I was doing like life sciences litigation to start. But then again, like tech blew up, and the tech transactions group ended up having a lot of work, and so that's when I moved over.
Amazing. And were you working with some of these companies that in the Bay Area, did they try to maybe recruit you while you were working at Goodwin?
At the firm, being in the like tech transactions group, that's like the commercial group, like IP and commercial support for M&A and venture financing and stuff like that. That group tends to get a lot of outreach from tech companies and recruiters because of the commercial aspect. So, like reviewing contracts and things like that. And often that's a bigger team at a tech company. In house departments like want to hire for that more than maybe other roles, and more at the more junior level than other roles. Like other roles, there's only a few of them. They tend to be more senior. You need a lot of firm experience before you can go in house. But for tech trans, at least my experience was like people would be willing to hire with like just a few years of experience. Um, so I was getting like contacted, but it's not always like the companies you want to go to or whatever. But when I guess I was in my fourth year, I was contacted by a recruiter for Dropbox, and that's how I got connected with Dropbox.
Got it. And did you know you wanted to go in-house, or were you kind of trying to go for that partnership role?
No, I. So the other nice thing is that a lot of the lawyers at Goodwin did go in house before me, so I could see like what the career path was, and you know, hear people talk about how much they liked it, and I thought it was an attractive thing to do because you're closer to the business side, and so you can like really have more insight and context into like the legal advice you're giving and see what happens and see how it actually plays out versus like being an outside counsel. The downside is that it's just one client, so it's just like one business versus like when you're at a firm, you get to see a wide array of issues and businesses and things like that. But I felt like I wanted to try the in-house route.
Got it. That's awesome. And before we talk about Dropbox, I want to just bring it back and ask, how was that transition internally to go from litigation to transaction at Goodwin?
I was doing like brief writing and document review and stuff on the litigation side, research and writing. That was fun. But on the transactional side, it just felt like more practical. And it was like more familiar because that was kind of what I was doing as a paralegal was like, negotiating NDAs or reviewing these contracts or, doing stuff like that. So um, I felt like it was okay. But I obviously liked it
Nice.
more. So I don't know.
That's awesome. And so you were recruited to Dropbox, right?
Yes. So they used an outside recruiter. So I think that person was like reaching out to people to like get candidates, and that's how I got connected.
Nice. That's such an awesome company to work for. And you were there for 5 years and you were doing product and commercial work initially, right?
Yeah. So they kind of had like different structures of teams um, over time, and I think the I first joined on the commercial side and was reviewing contracts, and then product and commercial for some time was like under the same person and was like kind of one team, and then product like sort of split off, like product counseling split off to their own group. So I started off doing commercial work, and then because like the commercial team worked so closely with the product team, or it was like under one person, it was like very easy to get involved in product counseling work. And so I started doing that, and that's how I like moved over.
And you enjoyed product more?
I did. I still like commercial, but I found like I had been doing commercial for however many years. Like I did it at the firm, then I was doing it at Dropbox, and then product counseling was just something that was quite different. It is really one of the more, I know that firms help with it outside, but I think it's quite a different job inside in-house counsel. So um, I wasn't exposed to like that level of like product counseling, I guess, before. And so it's, it was like definitely something that was very interesting to me. And even today, like it's my favorite in-house role. I think product counseling is just the most interesting and fun job for a lawyer.
Yeah. Can I double click on that? Can you share maybe why that's super interesting for you?
I think because you're helping the business like launch something that is key to their business. So it's like they are making products and putting them out there. And so you get to like advise on all the legal risk that's associated with that. And you have to be super pragmatic. You can't just be like, because the safest thing to do legally, right, is like not launch anything at all. And that's obviously like not going to work. So you have to like, there has to be some like thinking and rigor that goes into like the advice that you give. The other thing I like about it is the fact that it's kind of like a law school exam. Like you're issue spotting across a set of facts that you're given, and you have to know a lot about like all the laws that might apply. What does the like litigation environment look like? What does the regulatory environment look like? What is like likelihood of enforcement? What's the risk? Like, what are the optics that would affect that? Um, like pattern matching to past like similar or analogous uh, sort of like legal mishaps that other companies have had. So there's really a lot that goes into it, and it's I just think it's like it's very hard, but it's also just very rewarding.
Nice. And I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but do you have to sort of re-educate yourself on the whole product landscape as you're going from Dropbox to Loom to OpenAI, or are there a lot of similarities?
I think there's similarities and differences, but definitely like taking into account the different products is required. Like you can't apply the same approach you apply at Dropbox to Loom to OpenAI. Like that's just like not going to work. It's different products, different audiences, different like exposure, right? Different spotlights. Um, so I think learning from each company has been very helpful. But yeah, it's not like exactly the same.
Got it. Super fascinating. And then last thing on Dropbox, you had obviously an impressive promotion internally to head product counsel. Just looking back on that, Ashley, like what do you think were the factors that contributed to that promotion that you could maybe share with other folks that are in-house and trying to move up internally?
I think if people were looking to be like put in that position, I think things I would recommend that they think about would be like thinking beyond just like being an excellent substantive lawyer and doing an excellent IC job, but thinking about like the management side too, because I think a lot of lawyers are put into management positions and they put so much into substance. And this might be true outside of legal too, but like you go to law school for 3 years, you need all this experience to get that job. And then all of a sudden they go join a team and they're made managers. And like they don't put as much into thinking about being good managers as they do into like being really great substantive lawyers. And like that is also something that I think people should think through. Like what kind of like management philosophy should I have? Like should I read books about management? Should I like how do I think about like training and motivating people? How do I think about recruiting? How do I think about like distributing work amongst a team and making sure that like the team is operating efficiently and well? Like, how do I think about scale and like making sure that we can grow with the company as the company grows? Like those kinds of things. I think it's something I would encourage people to do. And I'm not saying I did that, so like I don't know.
It's Yeah, it
Yeah.
sounds like it's tough because it's not really something you're taught in law school, and then you're kind of exposed to it and you're forced to learn on the fly or do kind of your own prep, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's right. Unless you have like a strong manager that could tell you, this is the things that you should think about as you move into managing. So.
Gotcha. Amazing. And then, Ashley, I'd love to know what the transition was from Dropbox to Loom. Can you speak a little bit about that?
So I'd been at Dropbox for 5 years. I kind of felt like at that point for me, I wasn't like growing as much as when I had first joined, um, and that I kind of wanted something different or some kind of new challenge. So I just thought, okay, maybe like one day I'll go somewhere else, but I wasn't really sure. So I had a friend um, who I knew that was in like my social network, and he was working at Loom, and he was like, "We're hiring a lawyer. We don't have any lawyers. Do you want to come be our first lawyer?" And so that's how I got connected to Loom, and I interviewed and moved over.
Amazing. And you were there for 2 years. They had a really amazing exit, right, for almost $1 billion. So, what was it like in such a high growth environment? I'm sure like teams were changing, managers were changing. Like, how was that from a legal perspective?
From a legal perspective, I think it was okay. Um, the company was growing a lot. It was very exciting. I think my like the things that I did there were basically setting up just like basic legal processes and helping them um, on all the things that they needed legally as a startup company because they didn't have a lawyer before, and so just like triaging and doing like the highest priority legal work was kind of just like my approach. The company grew pretty quickly, but there was like there was like the layoffs that came like later. Um, so it was kind of interesting to see like the sort of like the ups and downs of the startup kind of madness.
How big was the legal team when you first joined up until when you left?
So I was first lawyer, and there was
Wow.
and I had compliance. So like global risk and compliance doing they do like SOC 2 certification, third party risk management, like those kinds of compliance efforts. And so I had one person working on that, and I had actually worked with her at Dropbox, and she's wonderful. And so I was really excited to work with her again. And then we hired two more. So we hired a lawyer and another compliance person. And then I left.
Got it. And you hired those folks?
Well, she hired for her compliance team, the compliance person. And then I hired someone that I had worked with at Dropbox, actually, who went to law school and then um, went to the firm. And so I hired that person.
Amazing. Yeah. So you were head of legal at Loom, and so then you transition open to OpenAI. Can you talk about how that transition happened?
Yes. Um, the person that hired me at OpenAI was who's now our GC. He was actually the senior associate that I worked with at Goodwin. So at Goodwin, when TechTrans was like having a lot of work, he was the one that like asked me if I wanted to help him and like work on all this work. And he was like my mentor and he trained me and he like taught me everything I know
Wow.
about tech trans work. And then we kept in touch and we stayed friends throughout the years. And every time I had like a job change or like an issue at work or whatever, I would ask him and he would help me. And so he's like sort of mentored me throughout my career. And so
Amazing.
then when he went to OpenAI, he was the second lawyer at OpenAI. And he was like, okay, like we're hiring. This was before ChatGPT launched. It was in like 2022. So they had Dolly and their API. Um, and I feel like in the tech community or like developer community, like people knew what OpenAI was and that it was like really exciting and cool. But like outside of that, I don't know if it definitely didn't have as much attention as it does now, but like I was like, okay, this seems really cool, but I don't know like what is going to happen with this company? Like, what's up with this weird nonprofit structure? Like, what is going on? Like, do you have real equity? I don't understand this. Um, and I was like, no, I want to be a GC. Like, that's my, like a general counsel at a tech company. Like, that's my goal. I'm going to like just do this. I'm just going to like stay on this track.
Really? So you resisted a little bit.
Yeah, I just like wasn't sure, because I think I would be going. I was like, well, like I'm like the head of legal now. Like I get to decide everything, and it's a smaller pond for sure, right? But then I could move to a bigger pond, and but then I'm not like I don't have as much scope, right? So I was just like deciding between those two things. But then he kind of like he was like, wait, I know you. Like, do you really like all the types of legal work you do? He's like, I know that you love product counseling and that you love like really hard legal issues, and that's what we have here. We have like really hard legal issues. Like so, everything is gray, cutting edge technology, cutting edge legal issues. And it's like it's super fun. Like,
Wow.
he's like Loom is like, which he's not wrong. Loom is, it, super fun company. I love Loom. Plug for Loom, by the way. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful product. Um, but it's like kind of like software for work, like a different risk profile than like AI, right? So
Totally uncharted territory.
yeah, exactly. And so he was like, so it's a different thing. It's a different job. Like what is it that you want to do? He was like, actually it's more lucrative if you stay at Loom. So just like FYI.
He was
Um,
honest.
yeah, he was like trying to be honest. Um, but he's like, but you might get more job satisfaction here because like you really love those kinds of difficult issues. And so I was like, yeah, you're right. And so then it kind of convinced me to come, and I'm really happy I did because he's right. Yeah, I'm very happy with my job and my role, and I think it's very exciting. So
Super exciting. That's such an awesome story. And so now you've been there for almost 2 years. You've gotten promoted to Deputy General Counsel. Can you talk about what your day to day looks like? What kind of work are you doing? Are you still focusing on product related issues?
so I lead the product privacy and commercial legal teams. So I work on all three of those issues at more or less in a day. Um, so I don't really know. I feel like my day to day is different. I think it's some combination of like meetings and managing my teams. And so that includes like talking to my reports one on one and helping them with whatever issues they have or giving them whatever information I can give them or whatever support I can give them. That includes having team meetings and like getting people together to information share or like work on issues together. Sometimes I'll join client meetings and like talk to clients or write client advice that like maybe other people don't have time to do, or if there's a project that I'm on and I'm advising on, I'll work on that. So it really kind of varies from.
It's so dynamic.
Yeah, but that's nice. It makes everything really exciting.
That's awesome. And I can't help but ask you, are you using ChatGPT and a lot of the company products on a day-to-day basis?
So we do use ChatGPT. We have it. We obviously use like the enterprise version of it. Actually, I think I also have a plus version that I use when I'm like trying to test out, see like how the individual product works and how the enterprise product works or whatever. I probably don't use it as much as I should, or that like other people use it for. I don't know why. I think because I'm like I'll use it to look up a new area of law if there's something like that comes up and I just need a summary and I don't know like what I don't have any like background on it at all. Or I'll use it to like simplify language or for wording suggestions, or if I'm like writing some kind of policy or, something like that where there's like writing involved or editing. I can use it for that.
That's awesome. And then just one more AI related question, and this is sort of broad, but I mean, you are obviously working in OpenAI. So can you maybe speak to how AI is going to affect legal work, maybe specifically in terms of product and commercial counsel work?
Yeah, for sure. So I think we're actually seeing a lot more AI on the commercial side. There's a lot of services that have like popped up that include um, AI as part of the technology.
Spellbook AI.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like God, I can't think of any, but I know like Ironclad uses has like a contract review feature now, playbook type services, and also just like services that can review contract or suggest language. I think that is like maybe the most common legal use case I've seen. I've also seen, so I was on a panel with someone, and I forget what the name of the company is, but it was like a compliance tool. So like it will issue spot and like give you all the compliance requirements like GDPR or whatever for your whatever process or product you're using, and it's like a checklist, and it'll help you sort of like it's like a compliance AI. So I thought that was really cool. One of our customers, his name is company name is Harvey, and it's a startup. And I think they're doing like fine tuning models for legal, for like brief writing, and maybe there's a contract piece of it too. Because you can like ChatGPT is more of a generalist tool, right? But you can also fine tune models, which means like give it more context and more documents to like sort of shape it to sort of be more geared to legal. And so that's what they're doing. And I think there's probably a lot of interesting um, opportunities for like product development there too. And I think that
There's
like product counseling would probably benefit from that, right? Like some kind of legal model that knows all the regulatory environment, and you could put in like your set of facts or your product description or your product spec, and it'll like issue spot for you. That would be cool.
there's so much innovation in the space, and it's just only the beginning, right? Do you think this is going to displace legal jobs?
I personally don't think that. um I don't I understand the concern, and I think it's definitely valid, but I think like we've had other technological um like I don't know, booms or whatever, like the internet or the computer or like the printing press or like mobile or whatever, and it actually creates more jobs. It doesn't create less. um I do think like people will not be doing the same job, right? And that is true of like past technological development as well. So there are probably roles where you're doing something that like AI can do, and like you don't need to do that work anymore, but you could do something else, or like it just makes you more efficient. And so for like a lot of lawyers, I think it will make people um, just like more efficient, and it's a tool that they can use. Like another example is like Westlaw. So like back in the day, you'd have to like look up all the books, right, and like copy and paste or like write out the quotes from it and like get the case citations and stuff. But then like everything got put online, and now you can just search and it like pops up really quickly. So I think that's like a small example where it actually made our lives better. And I think for the most part, people like it. So
Amazing. Cool. Thanks for answering those questions. You've had such an inspirational career, Ashley. I guess just looking back at from the time that you were in law school up until now, is there any anecdotal advice you might give yourself, maybe networking or mentorship?
my network definitely like helped me get to where I am today. So I do think networking is super important. Maintaining the relationships you have with people pleasant and like try hard at my job, even if like it's not, it's not like what I want right now, or like you just never know when people people will create like an impression of you. And so I always think like it's best to just be like kind um and just like a great teammate to everyone always. Like that just is like, I don't know, something you should do in general, but also helpful. I guess I never, it's too hard to plan out like where you're going to go or like where you're going to end up, because I think like me or any lawyer that I really talk to, they're like, yeah, I would not think I would end up here. I did not think I was going to go this way to get to this place. So I think making sure that you can have an open mind of like where your career is going to go, it might help.
Yeah, I think that was huge, right? For you to make those moves, even though there was some resistance, you like heard out your former colleague and you took that chance and it paid off,
Mm-hmm.
which is really cool to see. So cool. Anything else you want to add, Ashley?
No, thank you so much for having me today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was great having you on, and I think you really brought a lot of value and insight into a really inspirational career path. So thank you so much.